on the breakout. Gold's going to make a new all-time high.
Gold-backed ETFs seeing inflows of over $5 billion.
$0.8 trillion gold market.
Why are we the only guys that seem to understand this?
Makes your head spin. Welcome to Live from the Vault, this webinar episode. Happy New Year to all of our Kinesis community members. My name is Shane Moran, and I'm going to be your host today on this episode. And today I'm fired up. I'm excited. We have some updates for our entire community here, brought to you by CMO Jai Bifulco. And we're going to be bringing you a Talking Gold update with Andrew Maguire. In addition, you're going to get to hear from advisory board member, Mr. Sergio Fernandez De Cordova. You're going to love this call and what he has to say as well. So let's get started with today's update. Over to you, Jai Bifulco.
So, hello, Kinesis community. I'm here today just to give you a little bit of an update on what's happening in Kinesis behind the scenes, a little bit of an update on our roadmap. And I've really just looked through a lot of the common questions that are coming from the community, and we've tried to address them here in this update. So I will be reading off of a document here, so if I can't give you my eyes, just bear with me. So we've separated our roadmap at the moment into Q1 and Q2, and I'd like to first cover Q1 on development. So Q1 development, what we're expecting and what's being worked on right now is number one, the mobile app. So the Apple and Android app are in the final stages of development.
All right.
We have gone through beta testing. We had a huge number of comments and feedback from our beta community, where there was over 100 beta testers involved, and we have now looked to resolve all of those by next week. So next week on February the 6th, we'll be running through a final session on all the fixes and everything that's been updated on the app. And then this February, we'll be releasing the production app out to the wider community, ready to go. So if you've got an Apple or an Android, you'll now be able to have Kinesis money through your mobile application. And I have to say the feedback has been great, and I'm really excited for this app to come out because it makes everything so simple and easy and accessible. So this is in line with what we're doing, out there in the world, creating accessibility. And this app is one step further towards that.
I see. Wow.
There are a bunch of technical enhancements that we've been working on. We've been improving on a number of logged issues in the UI, the UX enhancements, and there's several improvements that are going to be delivered throughout Q1. And as these come through Q1, what you're going to see is us completing some infrastructure improvements, enhanced performance, stability, scalability of the Kinesis Money platform as a whole. And the above improvements will resolve the KMS bugs that have been prevalent throughout, throughout when we launched the app. We've received some feedback that, transaction times and withdrawal times have been a little bit laggy, and these improvements will actually improve those.
Jai, that's pretty exciting for Q1, and I hear there's even more excitement coming for Q2. Can you maybe let all of our viewers know what's happening in Q2?
Absolutely. So Q2 is where it starts to get really exciting. We have the debit card. The development on the debit card is now complete, and we have done a lot of the tech pieces. And now we're into the territory of approvals and documentation and all of the red tape stuff. So currently we've got application with Visa. We're waiting for an approval back there. We have some banking stuff that we're finalizing, and now it's in the hands of the organizations and that we're dealing with on that side. So the tech is done. We're ready to go. Not only have we started, not only do we have it developed, but we have it developed in the actual KMS platform on desktop, and we've also got it developed on the app as well. So as soon as the debit card is ready to go, we'll then have that on the app and the desktop from day one. One of the things that does push the debit card and is a lengthy piece for us is the production timelines, so printing and card delivery and manufacturing and all of that. So the debit card is really aimed at Q2 for those very reasons. Should it come sooner, then great, but really we're at the mercy of production timelines and approval processes here. So we don't want to overpromise here and underdeliver. We want to, set the expectation that Q2 is very much when the debit card is coming for Kinesis for the Europe and UK. So for the EU and UK is where it's going to start. And then I'll give you an update on the global banking solutions later on in the update. So the other thing that we're working on in for Q2 is the yield engine. This is the primary piece of Kinesis. This is something that obviously everyone is waiting for. The yield engine is in development. We're going to be releasing the yields as they are completed. We're going to start with the KBT yield, and then subsequently we're going to roll out minters, depositors, referrers, and holders yields, and then they'll be added to the desktop and mobile applications with a nice clean interface where you'll be able to see and track and monitor all your monthly yields from there. It's very much a Q2 delivery item for us, and as these webinars progress, we'll be able to get more specific on what dates in Q2, but that's definitely going to be happening in Q2.
Excellent.
So furthermore, I want to give you some key areas of updates in the business that are non-technical, covering the worldwide banking solution to start with. So it's, the worldwide banking solution for us is a rollout of debit cards that are just not EU and UK based. We're talking about US and other countries in the world, a whole bunch of countries. We got Southeast Asia, where we're rolling out into various other regions in the world. So how do we, take the process that we've already done, replicate this, and how do we use a solution or a partner that is going to help us deliver a global solution quicker, faster, and more scalable? So we've identified right now some options with some technology partners, which we are now in the due diligence process with. But we're also looking to develop an easy-to-use mobile banking interface for sending, receiving, and using facilities such as direct debit and everyday banking as well. Many of you said that, yes, okay, we've got a great product for the digital gold and silver and for the exchange, but this is technical, and those that want to actually have a simple to use sending and receiving money, making this very, very simple is necessary. We also agree, and this is something that has been in the roadmap, and we are working towards that now. We've had the preliminary meetings, and we have found the underlying technology partners and have identified exactly who we want to be working with, and we're currently exploring that process now. The exact regions and where we'll roll out and the exact nature of that product will be released as we move forward and through into 2020. It is looking good. We've got a massive team on this, and everything is in process and is in play. So more on this to come. So watch this space. Many of you have heard about the Kinesis Cool Wallet, which is our hardware solution to keep your digital currencies offline, safe, not on your computer, local computer, and out of harm's way. It is an ultra secure sort of device that will allow you to park your digital assets. The shop that we have developed is now completely built and ready to launch. We are launching the shop in line with an updated website that is going to reconfigure the user experience of the Kinesis website to more match how we want to bring Kinesis across to the community. And there are various segments we talk about within Kinesis, as the show that you've just watched will allude to, and that is we have institutions, and we have public-private partnerships, and we have business side of things, and we also have a personal side. So the website itself has been split up to segment the personal, the business, and the institutional, and we've put the appropriate content and resources within each segment. The shop will be launching with this, and we've developed a fully working fulfillment process where you can pay with your Kinesis KAU and KAG to purchase your core wallets, and also we'll have debit card facilities as well, so you can pay with fiat.
Wow, that's a very exciting update. I know a lot of people are looking for that cool wallet. So when approximately will the shop and the cool wallet be available for people to order?
Excellent. Yes. So the date of the wallet, the shop launch, we've been waiting for the partners to come back online from Chinese New Year. So we've been held to the 31st of January date. So it'll be we're coming up to that date now. So what we're going to do is in the first week of February, we're going to be launching the shop and the website.
Excellent. Excellent. That's awesome.
And then I'll just go through a couple of other updates which we've had from our ambassador and Kinesis community on Telegram, social media, and various other. We've had some questions around the institutional minting that has been spoken before in the previous webinars. And then people have been tying the institutional minting to the insurance. I am pleased to update that the insurance and increased vaulting in Liechtenstein has been finalized. We have all the necessary insurance have been approved, and we're in place for the institutional meeting. So all of that setup's been done. We're going to supply an update in a subsequent episode to update you on exactly the institutional minting side. However, rest assured, it's all in play and it's all happening. So in a future episode, we'll be able to, update you on what metal's coming in, and you'll be able to obviously see that on the Explorer as it comes in as well. A metal audits page will also be developed soon, and in a future episode, we're going to be covering the metal audits. Obviously, when we do the audits, we will publish them, and there's even talks of having in-vault cameras, which we've got access and approval for, where people can actually see, what's going on. Albeit a bit boring, but it's a nice piece to have there to see your audit and to be able to see a vault that is live. So this will be something that's coming in the future as we get through the load of things that we're on to at the moment. So Indonesia, everyone has been asking about Indonesia. Indonesia is very much in play. Currently, our Indonesian team, led by Eric Main, our Chief Strategy Officer, is hard at work finalizing many aspects of the integration and development. We'll be covering Indonesia in an update in the next webinar. We've got a full update coming from the team down there who are busy on the ground. And the next webinar we have, or the live from the vault episode, I should say, we'll be covering this off in a lot more detail. So we'll now be running these episodes every 2 weeks. They'll be roughly the same time and consistency. We're going to have various partners and guests on to provide insight and scope into why they're involved in Kinesis and what it's like to work with Kinesis from their point of view. And of course, Thomas Coughlin, our CEO, will be coming on from time to time, covering off on the exciting details and the commercial developments that we're working on a global capacity. There's much happening behind the scenes, and this will serve as a medium for us to be able to deliver that information to you in a nice structured way that will be there for you to review, and that will be able to help keep everyone on the same page with what's going on. So the format will be roughly consistent with how we've done. We'll start with tech, and we'll go on to various other things in the updates, and then you'll see an interview, and then you'll see some general stuff from other people and partners. So on that note, I'd like to thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy what's about to come. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jai, for that awesome update. And now for our next segment, Talking Gold with Andrew Maguire. Andrew Maguire is an independent London metals trader and professional analyst. He's internationally renowned for his unique ability to read the precious metals market from his 40 years of trading experience in financial commodities markets. He's also a director of Kinesis and on the advisory. And now for Talking Gold.
Gold has been the best performing asset class since 2000. Now, I've started by saying that because it's a statement which blows most people away. And we deal with some of the biggest asset managers globally, none of whom, or very few of whom, have actually ever traded gold before, but have, and I must say, since the beginning of this new year, in fact, at the very end of last year, we started to speak to some family offices, very large family offices controlling billions of dollars, saying, the one thing, if there was one common thread, they said the one thing that we have noticed, or the one thing we're questioning is, God, this next year, and meaning 2020, is going to be like no other year ever that we've ever experienced before. And so I know we've got a lot of gold bugs here, and I know we've got some very experienced traders. We also know that we've got people who've never bought any gold. So I just think it's really important to point out that gold has been the very best asset class since 2000. It's outperformed bonds. It's outperformed stocks. Yeah. And most people think that can't be. It's outperformed the US dollar because gold prices are significantly higher than they were in 2000. Now, the reason is that we've been living since 2000 in an era of radical monetary policy. And everyone knows what that's about. I mean, good God, some of it is, your head spins after you see Powell come out with some of the things they say. I mean, these guys are painting themselves into a corner. So really, that's why gold has been a good place to be. And what really gets the attention of asset managers, investors, and the family offices we speak to is that gold's outperformance was driven by a non-yield bearing asset. Now, and that is without the yield Kinesis brings to gold. And this places gold alongside every other asset class. Now, that is a game changer. Now, geopolitics or the current threatened pandemic, I mean, add even more reasons to seek safe havens. But what we're evidencing right now is gold along is doing basically what it's supposed to always have done, which is rise in times of conflict. And so, rising prices are obviously a reflection of a lack of offers to sell the product, sell the bullion. It's like anything at all, there's a supply-demand equation. Now, however, we also know that gold, unlike many other commodities, is actually a currency. So it trades on the over-the-counter markets as a currency. So whereas oil would not have a cross against in the FX markets against other currencies, gold and silver do. So they are truly, truly currencies. And because they're currencies, they're obviously managed by the central planners who, and it's not a conspiracy theory, let's face it, every single currency cross is managed. And that's basically admitted, and but what you're doing really essentially is you're shorting one to buy the other. So if you're buying the dollar, you're selling gold. If you're buying gold, you're selling the dollar. So that creates some issues. And then, in other words, what I'm saying is there's been a paper market in gold, which is really, it has over the years really been utilized to keep the price of gold down. And we're reaching a point, though, what this has done, and I'll get on to where we're going to go and where we should be. But I mean, essentially, what we've seen here is we're now experiencing where technicals, which is the technical pivots and the technicals that are driving the price, are being reset by the fundamentals. And the reason being is that suddenly we've got some very large physical buyers coming into the market, which is actually starting to suck the paper market liquidity into the physical markets. Now, this is a huge deal. Now, we've never seen this before. And this is on top of the fact that gold has been the best performing asset. Now, what we're experiencing here is when we say the technicals are being reset by the fundamentals, technicals are always set by the fundamentals. But if you've got historic trading patterns that have gone on for 20, 30 years, there's trend lines in there, so people just automatically buy, sell on those lines. But something's actually coming, something's actually changed. And we've ended up with two gold markets. And what's observed is on-grid. Now, this is, I think, one of the specialties that the reason that we deal with many, many asset managers and advise institutionals is that we have a really good view into the physical market. And so what you're seeing on-grid, which is what's reported in the LBMA, and what the 3 or 5 tons that are delivered every day versus the 600, 700, 800 tons that are traded every day, what you're seeing there is really the reflection of what they want you to see. However, what's transacted off-grid is actually what we're really concentrating on. And it's the off-grid transactions. These are the ones that are bilaterally settled, and they're the ones that really influence the offer to sell physical gold on grid. And these transactions always exceed 100 to 150,000 ounces. And you're talking, close to 5 tons at a time in a single transaction. Now, obviously, there's premiums attached to that. But what we're saying is that indirectly affects the offer to sell physical gold even on grid. And we're wondering why we're seeing gold drive up from, if you remember, a year ago, in December of last year, as we moved into last year, we saw gold trading under 1,200 bucks. And then it moved up to 1,300, 1,400, 1,500. Then finally, at the end of the year, we started moving to 1,600. And at each point, these offers to sell bullion in size, and I'm talking about these large tonnage orders, dried up at each round number. Now, what we're seeing here, now I think we need to just get onto, I know people want to really know, well, what the hell's going on? What do I do? I mean, let's look at the short, medium, and long-term view. There are three major factors that are going to drive the gold price in US dollars into all-time highs this year. Now, number one is we have these paper-driven technicals being reset by the physically driven fundamentals. That even in the face of a ballooning 800,000 lots of undeliverable paper gold on the books of these insiders who have no delivery obligations in the COMEX alone. So we're talking about 2,500 tons. I mean, you're talking about the more than 7/10 of what is basically mined every year or produced every year on a daily basis, trading over and over again. But what it is the lack of offers to sell gold in size below 1,550 that now has our attention. And we talked about the drying up of offers to sell gold at each of those round numbers. Now, interestingly, we're seeing very large sovereign central bank buying coming in at 1,550. And there's been multiple attempts in the FX markets to actually bring gold below that level. Hasn't happened. Now, the second thing that really, I say there's three things that really need to concentrate. We're also evidencing the momentum traders chasing risk, hedging this risk with paper gold. Now, there used to be an inverse correlation between stocks and gold. So if you look at a chart for ES, for the S&Ps, and you look at a chart for gold and you put those charts together, you'll see there's been an inverse correlation. Not so anymore. It's muted. And it's muted because if you're a hedge fund manager and you're chasing risk, and believe me, if everyone else is chasing risk, you are going to chase risk because you will be fired if you don't perform. However, what's happening, you all realize that if everyone gets it wrong, no one gets fired. One of you gets it wrong, you will get fired. So essentially, but what they're doing is starting to look at this, and believe me, we deal with a lot of these guys, and they're saying, yeah, well, we need to hedge some of this. It's ridiculous. It's bubble territory now. Yeah, so they're hedging it with buying the paper version of gold, which is called GC on the COMEX. But these guys are usually easy to be rinsed out, but not. They are not one-to-one, but I'd say proportionately, they're buying gold, this paper version of gold, to really protect themselves, to hedge this enormous bubble, risk bubble, because it's it's simply smart. And the third thing that I would say that is really changing things and tightening the on-grid physical supply is the further raising of the offer to sell bullion, because gold in every other currency is in strong demand. There's only one supply of immediately deliverable physical gold, no matter which currency it's sourced in. So if you look at a euro chart right now, my God, you're talking at all-time highs being exceeded. You're talking about, this has been 8 years since we saw gold in US dollar terms breach its $1,900 highs. But yet 2 weeks ago, we saw euro breach that, and euro looks like it's heading for the $1,500 level. What does this mean? It means that basically the offer to sell bullion is rising in all the currencies, and it's tightening supply. There's only one supply. So, but most immediately, everyone wants to know, well, what do we expect in the very, very short term? Well, very short term, and we're talking about this week, heading into options expiry for the Bank in International Settlements, OPEX expiry, which is the over-the-counter markets OPEX expiry. And I realize that options expire today on the COMEX, and but that's really only a pale reflection of the size, probably close to $1 trillion of exposure that the Bank of International Settlements have when it comes to a mark-to-market event at the end of each month, which is 3 p.m. PM fix at the end of each month. Now, these bets are at 15.50. So we expect probably, and bearing in mind we just discussed that these bets were made 12 months ago when in the non-delivery paper markets. So we expect a little bit of weight perhaps into Friday, but then I think the lid starts to come off. So, and medium and long term, US dollar price gold is going to test its 1900 highs. In fact, gold priced in US dollar terms is the only laggard, as we say, every other currency has recently tested all-time highs. So really, I think that's, obviously we'll come back and we'll give constant updates of where we what to expect. But really, bottom line, I think we're looking extremely bullish. And from a key physical demand perspective, which is really, I think, the key thing to watch, the upcoming massive shift from paper to physical gold and silver comes in just as our gold-backed Kinesis monetary system gains traction. And we're talking about, there's going to be so many updates. I mean, I'm really excited, and I don't want to give anything away here, but we're going to have people coming in and talking about the government partnerships, partnerships with exchanges, government clearinghouses, Sharia organizations, and most recently with NU, which has 100 million members. That's just to name a few of these exciting things that are coming. So I think, talking about gold, I've never seen anything that could be so exciting for this year that has so many fresh drivers, aside from the fact that gold is already the best performing asset.
All right. Thank you, Andy, for joining us today. And thank you for your Talking Gold update. Now for our special guest. I know a lot of our community members have been looking forward to hearing from Sergio Fernandez De Cordova. Sergio is a world-leading expert on innovative public and private multi-stakeholder governance models. Sergio co-founded P3 Smart City Partners, also Alpha Global Trading, Things, amongst many, many, many other companies. Too many to list on this call here today, but let me tell you about some of his awards that he was awarded amongst the 15 Ellis Island Medal of Honor Award. And for those that aren't familiar, this award was also given to Muhammad Ali and Donald Trump, just to name a few. Sergio's been celebrated locally and internationally for his work in various businesses for over a decade. And I just wanted to mention just one more, that Sergio was, he is a graduate of the Rutgers University with a bachelor's in sociology. Sergio also completed the MIT Birthing of Giants executive program with 15 honors and awards. Sergio was also featured on TED Talk. Sergio, it's an honor to have you on the call. Welcome to Live from the Vault. Over to you.
Shane, thank you for having me. Thank you so much. And that was a mouthful. And,
that was just a little bit. That's just a touch for everyone, for our guests here. There's a lot more, but it's awesome to have you here.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here and real excited to have this conversation, and hopefully this will yield many more.
All right. Hey, let's begin by tell us a little bit about your background, maybe introduce you to the entire community.
Of course. So basically, I guess as you see, I've been around the block a little bit, but my background is I was born in Peru, and of Argentinian and Spanish descent from mother and father, and I moved to the USA when I was 9 years old, and basically started my first business when I was 12. I started with a small town newspaper. And been an entrepreneur since. Today I turn 45, so I've been doing this now for 33 years. So, wow. It's crazy. Time flies to look back at starting with a Commodore 64, and today I got 4 devices in front of me. So, God
awesome.
Bless evolution.
Well, here's my first question, Sergio. As I read through your profile and many pages, I'm noticing it keeps on switching back from foundational work to business, to foundational work to business. And maybe you can kind of give our listeners a little bit of an insight into the differences between your work with the foundations and your business experience as well.
Yeah, of course. One of the, in every business I've been involved with, there's always been an element of giving back and doing good, giving back to the community. And the newspapers, right? It's when you think about newspapers, one of the things that I learned a lot in that business was that it was about community. It's about communicating. It's sort of, when you look at the history of what a newspaper was to keep the Joneses and the Smiths and people that were going to church or being in their communities, to kind of connect them around conversations. And when you start to, kind of dive into the root of community, it's humans, it's people. And one of the things I really became fascinated with as I evolved in the many businesses, whether it was around media, the billboard business or technology, or the newspaper itself, was that, when you have an opportunity to actually tell someone's story and celebrate that human, there's so much more that isn't being utilized. And us owning so much media, in 2011, I really decided to start a foundation to focus, not just to do it as a corporate social responsibility or a triple bottom line of helping and supporting with our assets, but rather what I realized was that media technology and where that future was going, where we are today, data, is sort of the centerpiece of how we, make money, how we are driving the future of business, and really focus on how we could utilize those same assets to drive the future of impact and help make a better tomorrow. So I started a foundation in 2011 to really kind of was a culmination of years of many different things that we've been doing. And so as you see from, when you look at sort of online, if you will, you might get confused and saying, well, is he on the foundation side or is he on the business side? And to me, I have to, they are two different sides, but it is still the same insanity, the same vision that I have, which is how, work along public and private to do good and bring IP and innovation into the public sector and humans. And then also the same way of how we use technology innovation in the public and private realm, but really with a mechanism of what we call a C model, which is social impact, environmental impact, economic impact. So if we can't do good and make money, then let's rethink about it. But one side is purely philanthropic. The other side is all the different businesses around, public and private, really, which has been my passion since day zero.
Awesome. Well, look, in reading through again your profile, these projects that you're working on are not small projects; they're massive. Maybe you can just share with our viewers here, maybe some of the projects that you're most excited about.
Some of the most exciting things that starting with the foundation, some of the work that we're doing there is really, we run the Blockchain for Impact Summit. It was when blockchain started to take off, what we realized was that there was a lot of incredible leaders and there's a lot of sort of member states and governments that are looking for these incredible leaders, but they have no sort of bridge that brings people together and a trust. And with our foundation, we built that. And so what's really exciting about that is the fact that, this year, it's going to be our third year with the Blockchain for Impact, and an opportunity to continue to bring some of these sort of cutting edge innovations into the governmental sector for good. A lot of the projects that we do with the foundation they're massive in scale because we are strategically aligned with the United Nations. The United Nations obviously represents 193 member states. This year we celebrate 5 years, the first 5 years of a 15-year global agenda that we've been involved since before that, to help shape what a global agenda would look like and how we communicate that to billions of people. So, it doesn't obviously get bigger than that, but I mean, it's an incredible, opportunity to continue to do the work in our first sort of 5 years. And I believe that blockchain is one of the first opportunities that we could bring the foundational government, NGO, IGO, intergovernmental and non-governmental groups together with, with the business sector, right? And where blockchain really is everywhere, it cuts into everything. So There's no longer, hey, you are in this space and you could only work in this vertical. So to me, that's kind of one of the great opportunities for this year, because so much innovation has been happening, and there's more adaptation and there's scale, which is what blockchain brings to the table. As it relates to on the foundation side, on the for-profit side, we're really excited about the telecommunications side. We believe that, that's really at the cusp of a new revolution, and the MVNO, mobile virtual network operators, and MNOs, which is a telecom global space. And I could talk forever. I mean, we're involved in a lot of different initiatives, but to me, really excites me about 2020 is the cohesiveness of today's global economy, where here we are, we're all calling from 4 or 5 different parts of the world, and we're live, we're streaming, and we're making it happen.
Wow. Hey, Sergio, I know when your name comes up, there's a word. I know most people know what a smart home is by now. Not everyone has one, but most people know kind of what a smart home is. But your name keeps on popping up in smart city. Can you kind of just share with our viewers what the heck is a smart city, and how does that work?
It's interesting because it's a great question, and I've probably spoken to on the smart city side well over 50 different governments. I've been to over 90 countries, and in 2011 I sort of set off on, when I started the foundation, I also set off on a journey to educate governments about the future of smart government, smart cities, GovTech, and really went on this sort of educational journey on focusing on public-private partnerships as a means to evolve the future, where there's an economic value, there's a shared interest, shared values, but a very highly scalable conversation rather than privatization. And it was very early days in 2011, and a lot of people were not talking smart cities unless you were IBM. And so I was out there as an entrepreneur saying, look, I'm all in. This is the future. I came out of the billboard space, where we had the 3rd largest billboard company in America, but a lot of people didn't understand that one thing really evolved into the other. Because people look at billboards, they see a sign. What they don't understand about the billboard space was I had to rewrite the laws. We had to understand how data transfers, digitization, regulatory, traffic patterns. So there was so much more that went into that actually operates the city. And when I started to learn all that, I realized that we had the DNA of what was the basis of where the future of the streets were going, right? Because I had replaced light poles, payphones, taxis, buses.
Wow.
If I could put an ad, we were putting an ad anywhere. So, and now people are looking at smart cities as a means of putting more advertising. And the reason why in 2011 I sold out of the billboard business to start into smart cities was because I needed to drop the mic and leave, completely disappear the billboard business. Because if I went from billboard into smart cities, it would confuse the conversation that I just wanted to put more ads up. So I went into more of a sort of methodical approach of educating and traveling around the world and talking about the future smart cities around public-private partnerships, not around advertising, sales, and data, which is where Google and some of these other guys are talking. And now we're starting to see that, when Cambridge Analytica and everything came out, that, selling out to a Google for smart cities was not the smartest idea. Hello, Toronto, right? And all these other cities that have done it, Kansas City, because there is no way to evolve. So what we saw in the future of smart cities was that there is a $16 trillion future. If not, now the numbers are much bigger, which is insane to even think about, right? But when you start to look at that type of future, how do we get there? Not how does Google get there, right? Not how does Cisco get there? Not how does Dell get there? Because all they want to do is sell products into the space. So that's why they're excited about it. But if you ask any of their executives, say, draw me a map of where you are today and where the 16 trillion is. Show me how to get there. And guess what? Not one person could do that. So we go around the world, and we're in our 2nd smart city business. We sold the first one because a lot of people said to us, you'll never get a government contract. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. But, all right, cool. You don't have to come on a journey. And so fast forward, we built an incredible brand, not only because we've been around, we were there when nobody else was talking about it. We were also presenting a more cohesive ecosystem conversation and saying that in an ecosystem, everybody thrives and there's more business opportunities rather than a closed circuit, vertical system. And And then also the fact that now people are starting to, you know, put in all these elements, all these different innovations and technologies, and they want a platform-based approach to smart cities. And the interesting part is actually, Shane, believe it or not, as I was talking about advertising, now it's all come full circle where everybody in the smart city says, hey, if you need to understand smart cities, you should probably understand advertising because that's one of the means to finance it, right? So it's interesting. They're like, hey, aren't you in the advertising space? It never left, but you know, we rebranded as smart cities because again, the advertising space is only $3 trillion. The smart city space is unlimited. It's the future of how we engage cities, governments, everything in our life is going to be digitized, and that's where really smart cities plays an important role at the core of that evolution.
Now, Sergio, you're also an advisory member with Kinesis, and I want to maybe just get your background on how did you hear about Kinesis, and how did the relationship begin, and what were your initial thoughts when you first heard about the Kinesis project?
Well, I met Tom at in Spain, actually, one of my business partners, Francisco de Borbon, and I was there. I don't know what, you know, we have offices in Spain, so I'm in and out of Spain a lot. And he's like, hey, you know, we're having dinner with Tom from Kinesis, he's the CEO, chairman of Kinesis, and he's like, it's got this incredible business around gold and around the future of currencies. And to me, you know, my family's been historically, we were, you know, there's a lot of history in gold in our family, and so, you know, and we've been in and out of the space for about 15 years, and to me, when you look at, you know, sort of, you know, my personal interest, public and private, government, innovation, blockchain, data, media, and I looked at Kinesis, I was like, wow, this is incredible. But really, even more interesting is when I started to look deeper and understand a lot of what Kinesis is doing. I realized that the way Kinesis looks at gold is the way we look at data in smart cities, right? The minting, the mining, and the sort of ecosystem conversation, and just really became fascinated with the vision that was laid out, because there was an opportunity to sort of, you know, watch Kinesis grow and then bring it right into an entirely new sector called smart cities, and how that can really scale in a completely alternative universe incredibly. Because, you know, everybody, if you see in the news and you hear people talk about data, they say data is a black gold, right? It's the new oil, it's a new gold, it's a commodity, right? But yet we don't have mechanisms today, even in a small closed ecosystem like a city, that we are analyzing what value we are, how we are minting by being a citizen, how we are creating value in that ecosystem, because we don't get rewarded. Like American Express rewards us when we spend, but hey, I spend 60% of my income in my local community. What value is my community giving back to me except public transportation that I don't use because I drive, right? What are the sort of value propositions? And I started to dissect the Kinesis model. I realized, I was like, wow, this is everything I've been talking about from a future of smart cities, but here is the technology, the vision, and how you could evolve, you know, in an ecosystem and actually be all inclusive, which is, you know, when we talk about smart cities, we talk about the opportunity to leave no one behind, that every single person in a smart city is a member of the ecosystem, right? So to me, it was symbiotic, it was brilliant, it was perfect that, you know, that this existed somewhere else, and that we actually could explore an opportunity to bring that into an alternative universe that was parallel.
Awesome. Now, I know that everyone's heard and everyone's talking about the project in Indonesia. Maybe give us your thoughts about what you see and the importance of this project to the entire Kinesis monetary system.
Well, you know, we have, just by way of disclosure, you know, with our foundation, we are already working in Indonesia for, you know, we're doing a big, we just did actually a project where we sent text messages to a percentage of the population to activate them around what they care about, right? Hey, tell us what you, it says pick a number to change the world, and it's one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So we're working with the United Nations on that, and the Indonesian sort of mission we're already working on a couple of other elements there. And so again, when I learned about Indonesia, again, how perfect, right? What an opportunity to sort of collaborate. But really, to me, what's really exciting about what Kinesis is doing in Indonesia, which is one of the most sort of, thriving economies in the world and growing at the pace that it is an opportunity to really, as I said this to Tom, I believe that Indonesia is an impact project. It's not only a business opportunity, it's an opportunity to reshape, culture, reshape how people engage, and reshape how you actually could impact people's lives, the unbanked, the banked, all those people that are going to the post office to pay, for their bills. Here's an opportunity to really, give them a toolkit, right? When we're in the world of impact, we talk about toolkits, right? We talk about how are we helping someone in the journey of that is called life, right? Typically in a sales cycle, you're talking about the journey of a sales cycle of how you're going from acquiring a customer to this, right? In the thing that's called humanity, right, there is a life cycle, right? And when you're trying to give people tools, you got to give them the rudimentary tools, which is, how do they communicate? What tools, this is no longer good enough, right? This, you got to have the apps, you got to have the tools that are going to give you the identity to say, hey, I exist, right? And that I could transfer money to somebody and I'm not going to get charged $45, which is a week's worth pay, right? And sort of these just how technology has evolved only because of by the way it's evolved. Now it's an opportunity to auto-correct these things, and an opportunity, that with this Indonesia project is really, revolutionary. And when you start to also look at, how the post offices will be used in this project, you're also looking at the future of retail, right? Because here's an incredible opportunity, 58,000 post offices, and an opportunity to look at not only how you're putting A, B, and C, but how you go from D to Z. And so it's just, and it's also, one of the things that I said to the guys, what excites me about Indonesia is that the whole pocket of ASEAN, right, all the way over into the rest of the world, because, it's copy and paste. Our background in the government space, we worked with, again, probably well between the foundation and the business, well over 60, 70 different governments, federal governments. And once you understand what they want is they want to see something work somewhere else, right? And they want to see something somewhere else, and then they'll just copy and paste to say, okay, now we just need to localize it. And that opportunity is tremendously scalable. And when you look at smart cities, forget it. That's for another conversation, and we'll do that with Tom, because like the whole where this could scale when you start to look at telecom, smart cities. Kinesis at the core of a monetary platform of not only sending money across borders, but the entire region. Forget it. I mean, like we need like an hour and a half just on that. But I think it's exciting because when you start to look at it, it's not just a contract. It's not just. It's revolutionary when you could say, look back. So let's fast forward 7 years and then look backwards. Right? It'll be night and day. And I think that, from that perspective, it's just kind of, exciting. And so, I mean, again, with Indonesia, it's got so many legs that I think it's an opportunity, definitely we should follow that up on a different call. But I think it's an incredible opportunity and an element of from a business opportunity, from a replication opportunity, right, from a government alliance, the depth, which is important. It's not just one, but it's one that opens the door to many, and then and the partnerships play, right? The ecosystem, not just within countries, subnational, but regional and global.
Wow, before getting on this call, I said I have a feeling, that we get Sergio on this call, it's going to open up people's minds. They're going to be forced to think a lot bigger. I guess my final question today, I want to thank you. I know your schedule is outrageous, and I want to thank you for taking and investing your time today to introduce yourself to the community. But there are some people that stumbled on this video that are not watching live. Maybe it's on YouTube or maybe it's somewhere else. They just stumbled on this video. And I want you to maybe just, what would you say to someone that knows nothing about Kinesis? And what would you say to them to encourage to at least take a look and come and see what Kinesis is doing?
Well, you want to know what I do? I send them your video, number one, because that's an incredible video. And seriously, I just did that twice yesterday. And but I think it's, when I bring people to Kinesis, I talk to them about, again, there's so much to say, but it's really talking about, the future of monetary platforms, right? The future of how ecosystems should really operate, right? And when people think about gold, if you're not in this space, this community, everybody understands gold, right? But when you start to go outside, right, the communication kind of has to change, right? Because we talk about gold, we know it, Andy Maguire is talking about, the depth of the market, and he's really in the kitchen, right? But most people just get served a plate and don't understand all of that. So, I mean, when you start to go out broader and you think gold, they're like, oh, they're like, I don't know that market. I just know that the gold is a stored value. It's a uber wealthy. And I think that, and it's kind of like, yesterday I was talking to my dentist about it, and I was just saying to him, I explained this to him. I was like, no, the beauty about Kinesis is you could partake. It gives you an opportunity, fragmentation through blockchain smart contracts, having the ability to own a fraction of that bullion, and actually also be able to have your own stored value play and create my financial benefit from it. And he's just like, oh, wow. So I could put in $50,000 to $100,000 and park it and be part of that ecosystem. So I think it's kind of like, you could explain it 20 different ways to 20 different communities and 20 different people. And I think that what's exciting, what I find the most exciting when I talk to people about it, is the fact that they have an opportunity to enter a marketplace, right, without sort of having deep pockets, and to be part of a community that, and again, the beauty about Kinesis is, I think, is that you'll be able to have millions of people partake if everybody, play, sort of their own role. And I mean, that's exciting in itself. So, I mean, when you ask, going back to your question, I do send them a video, and I send them that because it's highly educational, but I also kind of, customize it depending on what I know about the person and how I could, bring it home to them, because there's no one way, right? There's not a cookie cutter description. That's the beauty about, what Kinesis brings to the table. It is a broad, it's a platform, and a platform, that has a monetary system at the core.
Yeah, I know, Sergio, there's a lot of you're involved in many, many different countries all over the world, being involved with the United Nations. And I know, there's paper money all over the place. Every country has a different paper money. Is gold going to go up or down? I really don't know. We have to ask Andy that question. But I know one thing: gold and silver are never going to go to zero. No matter what happens, they're never going to go to zero. So that's one way. But I love what you said. It's true. It's everybody. It's not just for the wealthy. Any single person, no matter what, can get involved, including people that don't even have a bank account, which is really exciting, because we're including everyone from the people that don't have bank accounts to the super wealthy are getting involved in the Kinesis project. So, Sergio, any parting thoughts?
No, I mean, my only parting thought is I'm excited to come back. I'm really excited that, for this opportunity to engage the community. And I think that, there's a lot of stuff that we have cooking, a lot of stuff that we've been working, directly with Tom around, smart city, GovTech, sort of global expansion, copy paste of different models into different governmental entities. And so I just think it's really exciting to be here. To finally have a chance to talk to the community, because I know a lot of people have been like, who is this guy? And to open the door, right? To open the door to future engagement as well, because, this is the beginning of an incredible journey for all of us. And I'm just excited and thankful to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate you, and we hope to have you back on the show in the near future.
I hope to be welcome back. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks, Sergio, so much for that informative talk here today. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. That was awesome. And to all of our community members, thank you so much for investing your time here with us and live from the vault. We'll be back. Don't miss the next episode and stay tuned, because we're going to have special guests coming on every other week. And for those of you who want more information, you can go to kinesis.money. Okay, just type in kinesis.money for more information. And for those of you who want to talk to other people, who want to invite your friends, family, and people to introduce them to this amazing global project, you can go to my.kinesis.money. That's my.kinesis.money, and you can look for the first 500 program as well. But with that, everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time on Live from the Vault. Bye for now.